and welcome to Tuesday's English session. So yesterday we were having a look at planning our discussion text for this week. We wrote one guided together last week. So this week is going to be a bit more independent. So I'm not going to give you any sentence starters. I'm not going to give you a guided walkthrough. So this video is just for a quick recap on what we did last week and to give you some tips rather than walk it through with you because we're going to be a bit more independent. So today we're going to start writing it based on our notes from yesterday, our ideas that we came up with for for and against. But like we did last week, we are only going to be writing section by section. So today we're going to write the introduction, our first for paragraph, and our first against paragraph. And then we're going to stop and we're going to continue writing tomorrow. So hopefully you remember those parts from last week. And you can have a look at the discussion text that you wrote last week to help you and to support you this week in your independent piece of writing. So yesterday, hopefully you came up with some ideas for this question. So does punishment make people better? And we looked at, didn't we, the quote from Holes that says about if you take a bad boy and make them dig holes, they'll become a good boy. And that's what our emphasis is on. But our actual question is thinking about punishment and whether punishment works. And we thought about punishment in holes, and some people just stuck to the punishment in holes, which is absolutely fine. But some of us that wanted to make it a little bit trickier for ourselves moved on to different types of punishment. So you might have thought about people going to prison. You might have thought of punishment at home, so smaller punishments like getting your electronics taken off of you, or punishment in school if you're sent out of the classroom or sent down to Mr. Winterburn. So there's a whole range of different things that you can talk about. Like I said yesterday, if you want to make it easier, just stick to talking about the punishment in holes and the characters in holes and whether they got to become better people because of it, because that will be easier. If you want to make it trickier, then bring in outside influences, outside examples like prisons and punishment at home. But remember, you need to give evidence, and that evidence is mainly going to come from holes because we don't know a whole lot about prison, but we do know evidence about the characters in holes and whether they became better people in the end. So it's completely up to you what you put into your discussion text. But remember, because we're basing this off of holes, you must mention holes as the book and the characters in your discussion text at some point. Okay, so if you're bringing in other bits as evidence to back it up, that's not going to be your whole discussion text. It's going to be there to support the idea of punishment. We're mainly focusing on holes, bringing other bits in if we want to make it a little bit trickier for ourselves, but it's okay if you just mention holes. So at the top of your page, what you want to do is write the title like we did last week, should school uniform be banned? So our title this week is, does punishment make people better? So you need to write that as a question at the top of your page so that everybody knows what the discussion is about. If you need to pause the video to give you time to copy it, then that is fine. Okay, then what you need to do underneath is to write your first 3 paragraphs. Now remember, each shape is a different paragraph, so it shouldn't be all one big paragraph, one blob together. It should be different ones, so you should have 3 separate paragraphs, okay? I've put the symbols next to these example paragraphs to help you. Now these example paragraphs have just been chopped up from the discussion text that we looked at as an example on homework last week. Okay, so those are there to support you, not obviously to copy because it's nothing to do with it, but instead of me giving you guided by guide sentence starters like I did in the guided one last week, those are there just for those children that need a bit of extra support to write their independent piece, to remind them what the structure of a paragraph is. And then on the left hand side, I have put that document up with the text openers. So to introduce the additional things, opposing options, lots of different opinions and things like that to start your sentences with. So that's all we're going to do today. You're going to write your first 3 paragraphs independently based on the question, does punishment make people better? And you're going to do that completely independently. Give it a go. Use this example one that's been cut up on the screen for you, and also the one that you wrote guided about school uniform last week. Use that to help structure your writing today. So have a go at those 3 paragraphs and then check through them at the end to make sure they make sense, and then come back tomorrow because we're going to write the remaining 3 paragraphs. So I would leave this screen up if you want it for support while you write it. If you think you're okay, then you can just get on with your writing. So good luck and come back tomorrow to see what we're going to write next.